All right. Well, hey, let's just jump on in there and get started since we are recording. And then folks could come back later and join into all the good fun here. I am slightly like moving around. I love the sun, but it is totally following me right now. Right. So I'm going to try to kind of be out of it, but you might get the three dots. We'll just call it nature and natural. All right. So, hey, everyone, welcome to the BAA Speaker Series event. We are super excited that you joined us. So my name is Joy Dixon. I am the membership chair for the Cal Black Alumni Association. And we are, again, very grateful that you made it here. And we have an awesome guest, Tovi Scruggs-Hussein, who will talk to us about mindfulness. But let me tell you a little bit about Tovi before we get started. So Tovi Scruggs-Hussein, a visionary, healer, and award-winning urban educator with almost 30 years of leadership and transformation experience. She is internationally recognized for her signature approach of moving from leadership doing to leadership being, and emotionally intelligent equity and inclusion. Recently, Tovi has been recognized by Mindful Magazine as one of the powerful women leaders of 2021 who are igniting the world with courage and wisdom. Tovi is a certified coach and has been personally trained by Brene Brown as a certified Dare to Lead facilitator to train others in courageous leadership with a lens of inclusion and belonging. Yet, the very best leadership training she ever received has been the 17 years she spent as a high school principal. She is a founding adjunct professor of trauma-informed leadership with an equity lens at Mills College and is the national president for Coalitions for Schools Educating Mindfully. She is also the visionary of Racial Healing Allies, of movement to create truly inclusive schools and organizations. Tovi cultivates conscious, connected, and courageous leaders worldwide. Thank you so much for joining us, Tovi. We're super excited to have you here.
Thank you, Joy. I was thrilled to be invited. It's funny, as long as my bio is, it doesn't say that I'm a Cal grad, but go Bears. I guess we'll take it for granted that I'm here, right? But I'm loving being back in community. Thank you, Nikki. Go Bears. Hello, everybody. So good to be here.
All right, great. Thank you so very much. So I have some questions for you, Tovi. So I'm gonna start off with a few questions for you, and then I will totally open it up for the audience to pose their questions as well. And just a quick reminder, folks, if you can just check your microphones and just make sure you're on mute, really appreciate that. So first one up, Tovi, what drew you to what you do? Like, how'd you get started?
So I've been meditating about 30 years now with a daily practice. And what got me started was really feeling pain and needing to heal. And I was blessed with the good fortune of being taken in by a group of women in an alternative healing community here in Oakland that really were, you are your healer. You are your best healer. And, they're significantly older than me. So they were like, and I was only like, 23 years old. And they were like, girl, go sit down. Just go sit down and breathe. Like, go child, go sit down and breathe. And it started working. It started helping and working. And it was around connecting to self and starting to explore what my inner landscape was feeling like and getting in touch with my own emotions and having it also normalized. So it wasn't looked at as something strange. It was just, or even religious for that matter. It was just go sit and meditate, go be with self, go be with God. That was the language used, go be with spirit. And so it really just resonated as a useful tool. And that's how it originally started. And then I was turned on to Iyanla Vanzant and her books really purport, you need to meditate, you need this silence, you need this time. And I also think starting so young, it just became a part of what I did. And it just really resonated with me really deeply. and getting some answers for myself and supporting my mental health, supporting my emotional health. And I was teaching at the time as well, first year, second year teacher, and it just brought a sense of peace to the pace of that work. And so it just really stuck. But that's what drew me to it, was my own need to heal.
That is so great. That is so great. I think that pretty much kind of moves us all, you know, like they talk about, you know, that pain pushes, you know, well, you know, the rest of that saying there, right? So awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So next one up here. So what are your how-to recommendations, right? For beginning and starting like a mindfulness meditation practice? I will say for me, and this might be other people's challenges, is just being super energetic. So just that whole quieting of the mind. So just getting started, you know. So what would you recommend?
I want to back up for 1 second because part of it is the
Absolutely.
why. Like, I think people find meditation to be something hard, that it requires discipline, that we need to, you know, oh, do I really have to sit and be quiet? Are you going to do it every day? And it's not that we need that much time to even do it. The science-based recommended amount of time is 12 minutes per day. When I talk to people about getting started, I'm like, look, just start with 5 minutes, 5, just sitting and getting used to it and like greasing that wheel. I think the benefits act as a motivator. That's why I kind of want to say that before I talk about some of the how-to. One is physically, it just really works for our nervous system in calming the nervous system. Our overall health, our physiology is impacted positively. For some of the science folks in the space, there are telomeres, which are the end caps of the DNA and keeping us healthier and younger and more vibrant. And those telomeres, those end caps, are like the shoelace end caps, right, on those little plastics. And when our shoelaces get worn out, they start to get frayed and raggedy looking. That's what happens with our DNA. As we start to age, the signs of aging are literally the DNA starting to get frayed, if you will. So a mindfulness and meditation practice actually maintains and helps to restore telomerase, that hormone that's in the telomeres. It helps to keep our hormones more balanced. It's like a youth serum. People think I graduated in 93. It was really 39. No, so, but no, it's really like, you know, this active youth serum. And then emotionally, it keeps us really balanced. It helps for that amygdala, that you might have heard the phrase, the amygdala hijack, where people like lose their cool or flip their lid. That's that amygdala coming disconnected from the prefrontal cortex. Our prefrontal cortex is what keeps us online, if you will, on our executive function and thinking clearly. And so when the amygdala gets triggered and we get emotionally reactive, we disconnect from our thought clarity, from where we need to think the most clearly. And so it's interesting because a lot of times we'll also get dysregulated at work, dysregulated in challenging conversations. And what's interesting about that is that those are the times that you need to be most online and connected. When you're starting to get agitated or dysregulated, or you need to have that conversation with a difficult colleague or even family member. But when you got to stay online, and it's funny because, you know, when people are so angry and they're like, just give me a minute, I need to calm down, they're actually responding to the physiology of their body being dysregulated. So that need to step away and calm down is what I like to call the sacred pause. It's really that moment where we take that deep breath. And we're like, whoo, let me just gather myself. Because that's really what's happening. The person's like, I need to gather myself. When they're gathering themselves, their amygdala and prefrontal cortex are starting to connect again. They're getting calm enough to be clear. What having a consistent practice of meditation does is it shortens that gap, if you will, that where you don't get so quickly dysregulated. Your ability and capacity to be with emotional dysregulation is greater. And in fact, you may not even get dysregulated in the same kinds of ways. Like some people be like, oh, I'm not as stressed as I used to be. The same stress is still there. You're just handling it differently, generally speaking. So it allows us to be in the moment, be calm, be poised, and focused when we might otherwise not. So that to me is like the motivation to get people to sit and be still for a few minutes a day, because I just want to be a better leader. I want to be a better person. I want to be a better sister, family member, wife. I want to be my best self and not make that a cliche, but really do the work that it takes to do that. And so to your question directly, what are some of the ways? I'm a purist. Like, I don't need an app. I don't need bells and whistles. Our breath is our anchor to power, our breath. And we are always connected to our breath. We also know when we're not connected to our breath. So we get intentional and just let it connect, because it's our power source. So we're always with ourselves. And so really just that sitting down and simply breathing the inhale and the exhale and being intentional about it and taking those moments to connect to our breathing, I think is where the magic is. Like, I just need to do that every morning to center myself. Some people need an app. So some people say, oh, my mind drifts and all that. My mind drifts too. Everybody's mind drifts. That's what it does. But that's part of the practice, always coming back to the breath. So when you notice your mind wandering, you're like, oh, bring it back to the breath. And I'm going to lead us in an activity where we're going to get to play a little bit, and you'll see that you really can't think and breathe at the same time. I'll put it like this. You can't think and think about breathing at the same time. We think and breathe a lot, but you can't think and think about breathing at the same time. It's really fun. We're going to try it.
I'm looking forward to it. And thank you so much, John, for letting me know that like my mic is a little challenged here. So I'm gonna kind of hold it up to myself. So you let me know if that's better. That is really, thank you, Tovi, honestly, for taking us to the benefits before we get to like, wow. All right. So we started on this path. We got our 5 minutes down. We've even graduated to 12 minutes. And I know I'm kind of jumping here because what you shared was like amazing about the whole telomeres and the full 9. I really appreciate that. How do you remain consistent when life keeps coming at you? You're good for like, okay, I'm on that 3-day challenge, that 10-day challenge. How do you put in the consistency where you can actually see the benefits?
It's really a dedicated practice, and that's why it's called a practice, because it's always changing. I don't think there are any real experts in this work. I think that we grow our self-mastery, but we don't let other things, like we don't let other things get in the way of eating, going to the bathroom, hygiene. It's just really this clear decision. And again, once someone experiences it, generally they're like, wow, like, how can I go without this? Because the beauty of it too is that it starts working immediately. It's not like you have to do it for a month before you notice it's working. You will feel it working the moment you start working it. That's why it's so powerful, in my opinion, too. It's just like immediate benefits. Your physiology and your neurology have an immediate response. And it even helps us be more inclusive. That's why part of my racial healing work is so successful with the people that I work with, because I come at it from an emotionally intelligent strategy and position. And part of this work that happens in our brains simply from sitting and breathing is that, one, the amygdala stays calmer, so we're less reactive. We stay online with the prefrontal cortex. And then, by the way, the prefrontal cortex gets thinner as we age, which is why Alzheimer's and dementia sets in. Meditation actually prevents the prefrontal cortex from getting thinner. So again, it supports that clear-headedness, prevents the onset of dementia and things like that. Now, here's the secret sauce. There's a part of the brain called the insula. And the insula part of the brain is actually responsible for empathy and connection. It's responsible for that love energy. And so we think that's something that happens in the heart. We think, oh, you're either just really like warm and fuzzy or not. But generally, people that have a meditation practice have capacity for greater empathy and compassion simply because of the meditation practice. It's not like they're, have some special ingredient or extra charisma or anything like that. There's actually hardwiring in the brain where that channel of empathy and compassion has started to be hardwired into the brain. And this is what's really like beautiful. You don't have to sit and like make it all happen. Your brain's going to do all this stuff regardless. Your body's going to do all of this regardless. All you have to do is make time to sit there. I mean, that's like, I don't know. I get blown away, and I use the term God and stuff, but I'd be like, he did this so right. We are designed to handle stress. We're designed to handle whatever comes at us. We're designed to love everybody. Like, we're born loving everybody. We get taught not to. So just imagine that our society has created ways and opportunities for us to disconnect from ourselves. We're designed to stay connected to ourselves and therefore stay connected to each other. But we let all these distractions, and we let all of the things that we start to make more important, like the times that I've lost myself in scrolling just on social media. Next thing you look up, 30 minutes has gone by. I could have meditated for 30 minutes. Was I semi-meditating for 30 minutes? Maybe, because I felt like I was doing something pretty mindless. So I'm just saying, it's like, there's so many ways that our society has put things that we give time for. We have 12 minutes every day to nurture ourselves and to connect to self. It is, to me, the primary source of self-care. And it's free. Right? People just make you think you need $100 yoga pants for this or something fancy. You don't. It's totally free. Sit and breathe.
That's awesome. I know. You all, please forgive me. I'm from California. It's one of my pet peeves. I love that word because it really is just the idea of like, really, that's all you have to do is just, sit and breathe. Sit and breathe. And the whole, I love how you are mixing in the emotional benefits for yourself and the folks who are around you or the folks that you interact with. And just also like the physical benefits.
Mm-hmm.
That is really pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I just think about, the hardships of the Black community and what we experience. And this is just such a gift because we're such spiritual people also. And, there's a lot of conversation. I don't know if I can get that controversial in this space, but there's a lot of conversation. I'm sorry, my shutter won't stay closed. There's a lot of conversation in our community, like, is meditation okay to do? How does it show up? It's not really talked about, and some churches sometimes even say, you shouldn't be meditating, you should only be praying or whatnot. And there's a lot of evidence that speaks to sitting in stillness and sitting in the quiet moment. And that sitting, I like to think, is really that receptivity. And my meditation practice is very, I share it with everybody, but I want to make really explicit that your meditation practice should be very personal to you. Like, you don't have to do it the way other people do it. And what works for some people may not work for you. So I always tell people, this is the way I meditate and the way I do it. Start with whatever feels good and then explore what feels good to you. Because every morning, my practice is that I have a nice sacred space altar. I have a free ebook for people if you want to see how to set something up for yourself. But because I have to make it fun too. I've been doing this for 30 years. I get super bored. So I have like my little, my candle and my little, my cross is there. My vision board is there. So I sit every morning in front of seeing the life that I want to create. And I sit in silence and I'm quiet and I breathe and then I pray. And then I'm quiet again to see what a response arises in me from a result of one, being quiet, being open, praying, and then seeing what happens in the space. And what do I feel motivated to create? My creativity is so much stronger. Again, my sense of peace is so much stronger. And so really find what works for you. I have dear friends that, don't go sit at the altar in the morning. They go sit in their chair with a nice hot cup of tea, and them sipping on that tea for 10 to 15 minutes is their quiet time, that meditative moment. So again, you find what works for you, but while they're sitting there in that quiet time and drinking their tea, they're breathing. They're focusing on the breath. So it's important that you do create that muscle that not only creates stillness, but that's it, that intentionality that just creates clarity.
Thank you. I'm glad you clarified that, because I was like, hey, I sit with my cup of coffee, but maybe I'm missing that intentionality piece. But no, all jokes aside, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. And it's Joy, so there's got to be a couple of jokes here, at least a couple.
Hey, that, and between you and the chat, there's plenty of laughs in this space. And I think it's great because I like it to be light. People think this is really serious and stuff. And it's like, have fun with it. Have fun.
Right? That is it. All right. Here's one of those standard out of the box questions.
Okay.
What are you most proud of?
Oh, gosh. Recently, two things. I surrendered to the pandemic. Going into the pandemic, I wanted initially to get very afraid, and I could feel it like in my body, like the freaking out, the, oh my God, being self-employed, all my work was in person, just all of that. Like I wanted to be afraid. And I just chose not to, in a sense. I just thought, why not surrender to it? Is happening. Like it's absolutely happening. And so what will it require of me to know and trust that it's going to be okay? And then how could I be inspiring to others to help them make it through, to help the parents of kids in school, not in schools, make it through, to help our community. So I somehow wanted to be a support. And so this work, what's been really interesting is I was like, it hit me one day. It was like, God, I don't want to cry. It was like, God, I get it. Like I couldn't get people to come to my meditation workshops and to talk about the power of emotional intelligence and to bring this into leadership. Like all of my leadership development is now rooted in this. And I was like, okay, God, you were preparing me for this moment. This was the moment when now resilience is the buzzword, self-care is the buzzword, like all of that. And I'm really adamant that you cannot teach what you do not embody. You cannot teach what you do not embody. And this work has a feeling tone to it. It has lived experience to it. And it's just important that it's also held as sacred because it's spiritual work. That, you're taking people on a journey to connect to themselves. And that is not to be taken lightly. And the way that we're educating our students and educating kids. I mean, I say regularly, I'm like, we are cultivating the future of humanity when we work with children. That's what we're doing. It's no small feat. We're not just teaching, reading, and writing. There's a lot more to it. And so just being of support to the leaders, so not succumbing to that. I want to read this quote that kept me going because it was you and Lauren at Oprah also. And we got quotes in our gift bags from Oprah. And this quote is still, that was what, February 2020, because the pandemic hit right after. And literally it was this quote from that February 2020 event, seeing Oprah in San Francisco, that just, it's still here on my desk. Easy. Nourish what makes you feel confident, connected, and contented. Opportunity will rise to meet you. And I just was like, you know what? we gonna do this. Like, there's no, like, this is what's happening and we're gonna stay connected. So I'm really proud of how I've shown up in this work, but all mainly for myself, just that I didn't crumble. Another thing that I'm proud of is that I've had a book that's been in the making for over 20 years, for my mother passed away and left me her journals. And I took some of this opportunity of this time from this pandemic to focus on writing and to getting some of the work done. And so I have a solid manuscript, a solid draft. That again has taken me 20 years to even get the courage to delve into that. And so I'm still working on it. It's not all the way done. I'm in a second round, but that's what I'm feeling really proud of. And graduating from Cal.
Hey, go Bears.
Go Bears.
And before that, I want to give you like the biggest virtual hug that I can for that. That's beautiful. That really is. It really is. All right. Here's another one of those. And then folks, please start adding your questions for Tovi into the chat and we'll start going down the list. And so here's my, well, second to last, because got the special one at the end. What's your why?
My why is that I really don't, I want to have a world and conditions that we raise generations of kids that they do not need to heal from. I want us all that healthy and all that well, that we do not harm our children and create a toxic society, because that is what we are healing from and recovering from. So my why is to be a contributor to reversing the conditions that got us to where we are now and replacing them.
That is awesome. I think somebody might be off mute. If you could just mute yourself, that would be awesome. Thank you. Wow, that's powerful. I wasn't prepared. I really wasn't prepared for that, but I can totally see that in you. And thank you, honestly, for your work and your presence. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. You want to meditate?
Yeah, let's do that. This is a perfect time to do it. Go for it.
And Sharifa asked a great question, and we'll get to that afterwards.
Yes.
For Daryl, the quote is by Oprah Winfrey: "Nourish what makes you feel confident, connected, contented. Opportunity will rise to meet you." Okay. So we're going to do a short meditation. It's not going to be very long. Some people are like, what's short? Be like 5 minutes. We're going to do about 5 minutes. That is short. Let us take a moment. So I'm just going to invite you to sit comfortably and to either gaze down or close your eyes, whichever feels most comfortable for you. And I invite you to just take 3 deep breaths as best you can. 3 deep breaths at your own pace. And then after those 3 deep breaths, just breathe at a pace that feels good for you. Just breathing and paying attention to your inhale and exhale. And I invite you to what would it be like to just be curious, not have any expectations in this moment. Just treat this like an experiment, just being curious. Noticing, how am I feeling in this moment? Maybe what's feeling easy about this, what's feeling a little challenging. Maybe even noticing, how does my body feel? Just being curious and just noticing. And part of that curiosity is like everything is welcome because you're just noticing it. It's there, so just welcome it. And now I invite you to simply notice where you're breathing from. Are you breathing from your throat? Are you breathing from your chest? Are you breathing from your stomach? Where are you breathing from? Just noticing. And now bring your breathing down into your stomach area. Bring your breathing down into your stomach. If you are already breathing from your stomach, maybe bring it a little bit deeper. Do your best to create a rhythm of breathing in and out through your nose and breathing from your stomach. So just paying attention. Mouth is closed if you can. Inhaling and exhaling through your nose and from your stomach. And just noticing, did you need to recalibrate anything? How are you feeling breathing from your stomach? Are you noticing anything different in how you feel? Maybe noticing a difference in your mood or even in your body. Taking a moment to express gratitude. What is it that you are grateful for today? It can be tangible, it can be intangible. What are you grateful for today? And taking a moment to extend gratitude to yourself. What is something that you can appreciate for yourself today? Even if it's as simple as or as big as, I got to work today. I made my own food today. I treated myself to lunch today. Whatever it is, appreciate yourself for something today. I'm going to count us down from 5 to 1. And after I reach 1, I'm just going to ask that you be fully present, eyes open, cameras on. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I usually ring a little bell, but it doesn't translate well on Zoom. So I do the countdown. So if you can put in the chat, how did that make you feel? What feeling are you experiencing as a result of the meditation? You are so welcome, Nikki. What are you feeling? Calm and relaxed, yes. and hopefully a greater sense of that relaxation. So I want to name calm and centered, spacious. Thank you. Thank you. Good, good. What generally happens is that we have shallow breathing. One, it's a trauma response. So if we have any childhood trauma or even adult traumas that are unhealed, our breathing will be shallow because at some point we generally disconnected from part of the breath to breathe deeply. When we breathe from our stomach, we are doing what our body is designed to do, which is to soothe and massage the nervous system. So when you deep breathe, it truly calms the nerves. It massages the nervous system. When we shallow breathe, that's that anxious shallow breathing or a trauma response breathing. So a lot of people breathe from their chest. That is not the healthy way to breathe. I have a high ACEs score, adverse childhood experiences. My score is a 6 on a scale of 10. I breathe from my chest, even after 30 years of meditation. My body hasn't self-corrected all the way yet. So I remind myself throughout the day of how to breathe properly, and my practice itself supports me in breathing properly because I bring my breathing down really intentionally. But my body has what we would call maladaptive. We have adaptive practices that are good for us, and then we have maladaptive practices that are not good for us. And my body has maladapted to shallow breathing. Now, I don't really owe that fully to childhood trauma. I really owe it to 17 years of being a high school principal, because that will keep your shit on edge. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. So this practice has really saved my life in a lot of ways, but we're all human and we're all having this experience. And so, we're all doing the best we can. And that, again, is why it's a practice and why it's a daily practice. So Sharifa asked earlier, any suggestions for meditation practices for folks with respiratory issues? Because the breathing can be difficult or triggering. Yes. Simply breathe the best that you can. Breathe in a way that feels nourishing in some way to your body. If you have anything that supports greater oxygen and you want to use that during the practice, then use it. This practice, again, is around working it in the way that works for you, just in the way that works for you. And that's what makes it special or good. Again, not having to do it like other people. I encourage new people to explore different things and do different things so they find that thing for them. But I always say, start off just sitting and breathing. If you can just start off with that and that is okay for you, it's a beautiful way to do it. It's very simple. So you're not always like, oh, my phone is dead, I can't meditate. Yeah, you can. Go sit and breathe. I don't have internet, I can't get that off YouTube. Yeah, you can. Go sit and breathe. So it's always a way that you can access this. I track time with timers. So this was a 5-minute timer that I used for our sit. At my altar space, I have a 30-minute timer and a 1-hour timer. I often don't use them unless I can really get lost in the time, this kind of thing, but I'll use it to keep my eye on it. So sometimes I use my timers and sometimes I don't. On a good day, I meditate for an hour. On a rush day, I'm like 10 to 15 minutes. On a super rush day, I'm like, woo, take those 3 deep breaths, say a quick prayer and keep it moving. And because things happen, right? But for the most part, I am sitting for several minutes and just meditating. And I try not to track time at all. Some people use their phones to track time or their watches, whatever works for you. The most fun is when you don't have to, when you absolutely just don't have to. And then it's like, oh, wow, I sat here for what, 40 minutes? How did that happen? And a good colleague of mine just shared that with me today. She's like, Tovi, I've never meditated for 20 minutes. I did 20 minutes and it was like, where did the time go? So she's building up that muscle. And that's what starts to happen. It just becomes this muscle and you will start to crave it. You will start to crave, like, let me just sit and be quiet. I love the practice first thing in the morning. Honestly, it works anytime you work it. it works. Your body will respond. Another way to get it into your day and to support your colleagues in this resilience tool is 2 minutes before every meeting, just sitting and breathing. Let's just take a mindful moment and we're just going to sit and breathe. Or you can run an app that guides you all on a meditation. So there's ways to do it. But when you work it into your work day, if you did it for just 2 to 3 minutes before every meeting, how many meetings you have in a day? So how many minutes would you accumulate over the course of the day? The research shows mindfulness meditation is the #1 resilience-based tool. Like I said, there are no accidents. The fact that the #1 resilience-based tool is you breathing in an intentional way, that's huge. It's huge.
Wow, thank you for that. I have another question here, Tovi. For a parent starting to experience dementia, what is an exercise she should do?
Guided meditation would be good. A guided meditation to help her keep focus would be good. I don't know much about the research of reversing dementia. I know about slowing it down. So the research says that the practice can help to slow it down, especially if it's related to cortical thickness of the prefrontal cortex. So I would definitely do some shorter, again, guided meditations to help keep her attention in the moment. Because her body, just know this, her body is doing the work. She just needs to sit there in the condition to support the body to do the work. And that's for all of us. Our brains are doing what I talked about. Our nervous system is doing what I talked about. All we have to do is be in the space of most potential for it to happen, which is allowing for it to happen. The light behind me is a salt lamp, and it's supposed to give off positive ions in the space, in your like air and your room. So that's what they say. So I plug it in.
Excellent. And feel free, folks, if there are any more questions. I do have that bonus question, Tovi. You know, you ready for it?
Oh gosh.
But there might be some other good ones coming through. So folks, feel free to add them to the chat, whatever questions you have here. All right. So here's the bonus. Oh, there we go. We get that one in first.
Okay.
There's Nikki's question.
Oh, can I run and get this thing really fast? It's for kids. I really want y'all to see it.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Say something, Joy. Keep people
okay, that's true. Otherwise, it's kind of like, hey, well, they can't see me. So that piece is really good. So again, like while Tovi's going to get the thing, I just want to say thank you again for everybody joining. This is really, we really appreciate it. We are back to launching the BAA. So thank you. All right. You were speedy.
Hey, I had to run to the living room. I just ordered this. I've used it for several years, but I haven't been doing any in person. So I've been telling a lot of educators about it and parents. And it's this one kit that I love, and you can get it on Amazon. And it says it's for ages 4 to 104. And it's true. So it works for a lot of folks. And it's this deck of 50 mindfulness activity cards, and they're big and colorful, and they're a lot of fun. And so it comes in this. You can, again, get it on Amazon. They need to pay me. I'm going to get this on Amazon. And it's really a lot of fun because it's full color illustrations of different activities to do with children. And you can see there's some cultural relevance in here and whatnot. And so it switches it up. It keeps it fresh because I don't have 50 different ideas on how to, capture kids' attention to be mindful, but this deck does. And then the thing is, kids can like pull from the deck. You can make it fun. You can be like, okay, what meditation are we going to do today? And then let them like pick a card right from the deck, and just you pull a random one and then you do it together. So it's very cool. I also encourage, if you have more than one child, that you can, or even if you do have one child, but if you have more than one, you give each child like 2 days of the week that they get to lead the meditation. So they can take the card and then they can practice their card. And then when it's their turn, like on Wednesday or whatever, then they'll be like, let me lead this meditation. And so kids pay attention to what they see more than what we say. And we know that, right? So if you want this to be a practice that your children start to take on, do it with them for just a few minutes, And you do it with them, and it becomes something that you do as a family. And again, it's really a connection activity as a family. It's also free to do as a family. And what I love is when I see some parents training their kids in like the breathing and everything, and you sit cross-legged and then the kids are cross-legged right in front of you, because it's just such a beautiful connection to have. The science says that kids should be able to meditate. Well, all of us, not just kids, but we should be able to meditate 1 minute for every year of life. So they use it for kids because it's a smaller number, of course. So if you have a 9-year-old, 9 minutes, 5-year-old, 5 minutes, that kind of thing. So they should be able to. There's lots of, let me type this into, there's lots of free resources for even the younger ones, because for like your 2-year-old, they're crying or whatever, you just take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath together. Let's take 3 deep breaths together. So that's like them starting to see and feel the power of connecting to their breath. You're not saying to a 2-year-old, we're going to go meditate. You're just doing the breathing with them. And then that really works. There's a website called educatingmindfully.org, educatingmindfully.org. It's really designed mainly for educators, but they're starting to do a lot more. I'm the president of this organization. They are doing more for parents now, and there's lots of free things on the site. Lots of free things. So if you are interested in things for your students, for your children, whatever that looks like, tons of free stuff there.
Thank you. Welcome. Oh, there's another question here. Tovi, you see it in the chat?
Yes. Gosh, I wish I did. I have a little bit of a guide on my website. It's the free ebook, Creating Sacred Space from Within, that talks about setting up the space and a little bit on how to meditate. Truly, if you Googled instructions on how to meditate, you're going to get tons of information. So I encourage you just to do that and kind of surf around and see what meditates. I would really want to name, though, John, start just sitting and breathing for 5 minutes, just focusing on your in breath and out breath, like we did in the little practice we did. That was only 5.5 minutes, what we did together. And so if you just sit and start breathing, that's truly what I recommend. And that's how I ask people to get started. And then you can start looking around for other things that may resonate, but there's not, people say, well, like, how do you do it? What do you do? There's not a lot to it, which is why people don't like to do it that much. They're like, it's so boring. Oh, that's what we didn't do. I forgot to do that with you all. Okay, so this is your homework. When you're sitting and breathing, I want you to practice taking a breath in and taking a breath out and trying to make your grocery list while you're consciously thinking, inhale and exhale. Because I'm telling you, you can't think about something else and think about your breathing. So coming back to the breath, like the meditators always say, just return to the breath. That's what we mean when we say that. What do you do when your mind goes, oh, just return to the breath? That's what we're saying. You just come back to return. And so then it starts to, again, kind of clear a bit. But there's always going to be the busyness of the mind, always, just about always. It's like those moments of bliss that you chase. You're like, oh my God, this thing happened. But usually I was thinking about something that made this thing happen. So it's funny. So it's a fun, honestly, to self-explore and grow your self-awareness. It's just, you are a fascinating person. You are a fascinating design. Love with every part of yourself.
Okay. So I don't even know if I want to do my like little final bonus question after that. You know, I'm gonna let you decide, Toby. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, fair, fair. Totally fair. That was so great.
Thank you.
Honestly, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing, like, just all of you, Toby. Like, really, that was yeah, that was more than just knowledge and 5 minutes of meditation. That was, yeah, that was really priceless. So thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank
Really.
you. I
Mhm.
appreciate you having me and extending the invitation. And it feels good to be in the space with folks and connect. So thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, hey, we are coming up on the top of the hour, so we will be wrapping up. So I just want to let people know we are back. I know we didn't really go anywhere, but we're trying to be even like more visible, the Cal Black Alumni Association. So please feel free to join us, follow us. You can join our website, go to our website, which is calblackalumni.org, and then join the mailing list. We'll be happy to keep you posted on all the good things. We have our monthly speaker series. Our next person, we have one coming up in December. We're skipping November. We got the holidays and so forth. Then we'll be back in January. Thank you very much for putting the website in there. We'll be back in January with Rue Mapp from Outdoor Afro. So she will be here in January. Then followed up in February with Brandon Nicholson. He will be here as well from Hidden Genius Project. And oh, how could I skip December? We have LaShawn Route Chapman. So she will be here in December. So we have a lot of great events coming up.
Yeah.
So close coming up as tomorrow we have our virtual happy hour. So please check that out as well. So you just can kind of connect, end your week, spending time with your fellow Cal Black alumni. So again, Tovi, thank you so very much for your time and all that you shared. I really, deepest gratitude for all of it. Really thank you. And thank you everyone who attended. Really appreciate you because you brought the energy and the questions, and really appreciate you as well. So thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. And take care all. Go Bears.
Go Bears.